The Cleveland Browns' biggest weakness is being exposed. Again, got some inside metrics we're going to look at on today's show and how this impacts the Cleveland Browns and what they're doing to fix that big issue. Welcome into the Browns Report presented by Prize Picks. Remember to use code HMA, get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. First thing I want to do, guys, is if you can get in the comment section and tell me what you think the Browns' biggest weakness is. Let me know down below, all my ball knowers, all my diehard fans that know this Browns football team well. Tell me what you think the Browns' biggest weakness is. And I'm your host, Joey O'Donohue. What we're going to dive into on today's show is this stat from Warren Sharp, okay? Because what he did was he made a list of teams that had the highest percentage of receiver error that caused incompletions, okay? So you see where I'm going with this. Receiver error that caused incompletions. And the top 5 teams in the NFL that were the worst in this category, okay, the most receiver errors, Cleveland Browns are top 3. All right, Jags, Broncos, Browns, Giants, Commanders. It's a big issue, folks, last year. And I always say the Browns' biggest issue was actually the offensive line last year, and I still believe that. But there's no secret that the wide receiver room was the second biggest issue, if not the biggest. And what's interesting about this metric is it's not just a drop stat, okay? I think that's important when you talk about the talent level of Jerry Jeudy and, can he bounce back and whatnot. Well, there's more that goes into just him dropping the ball, even though that is such a major issue. This stat doesn't just take into account drops. It's errors that receivers are making in a multitude of facets of being a wide receiver. Check this out. Warren Sharp says how he did this stat was it's the percent of attempts that were incomplete due to receiver errors, such as drops, lost control at the ground, didn't get both feet in bounds but should have, fell down, and a couple other smaller instances, okay? So, this guy's an analytics expert. I don't even know how he gets able to get all this, but he does. And this is a cumulative metric of the different parts that go into being a wide receiver. And so that does not bode well for the Cleveland Browns at all, that they're third on this list. And maybe some of you are thinking, Joey, this just seems like a small, super specific stat. Why is it that big of an issue? Well, you want to know the 2 teams in the NFL that were the best in this metric, okay? So they're ranked last in terms of receiver error, meaning their receivers didn't cause any errors. The Seahawks and the Patriots. Do those 2 teams look familiar from last season? They played in the Super Bowl. And so the Browns offense, as awful as it was, the receivers were such a big part of that, and quite frankly, I don't think we talk about it enough. And the drops, to me, it's taken into account on this stat as well. And I think it's an issue that I'm honestly going to get ready to say, let's trade Jeudy if he can't work on this. Because 10 drops in a season. This is according to Fox Sports here, the drop leaders in the NFL. Jeudy was tied second with those 10 drops. Double-digit number of drops for a wide receiver 1. And it's just something that can't continue if Jeudy is going to be causing all these other receiver errors that we now see, including bad hands on the few plays where we're finally getting a pass to a receiver in his hands and it's dropped. It's drive killers last year for us. As a team, the Browns were ranked 9th in drops, so maybe lower than some of you would have thought, but it's still top 10 in drops for all receivers combined. Gage Larvadan had a couple himself as well. And then you look at the PFF ranks for wide receivers last season. Out of 128 wide receivers, Jerry Jeudy's ranked 98th with this PFF grade. Bond and Tillman came in at 104th and 110th, respectively. 98th as a wide receiver 1 in a league where there's 32 teams should at least be ranked 32nd. But we're talking 98th. Jerry Jeudy's well behind wide receiver 2s on all other teams. I mean, it's unbelievable what we saw last year. And you couple that with the offensive line and the play calling from Kevin Stefanski last year, you could just see how sluggish the offense was. They could not move if you watch this team, guys. And so let's talk solutions now, because there's a lot that factors into the bad offense last year, and I got a stat that you actually will love going into next year, folks. But first, I want to let you know that today's show is made possible by SeatGeek. When it's time to get out of the house, There's not many better options right now than a sporting event. Use code CHAT10 and get 10% off your next set of tickets. MLB is in full swing, the NFL schedule is out, and you can now get World Cup tickets on SeatGeek. Could be a once-in-a-lifetime experience to go to a World Cup game while it's here in America. For me, I'm already looking at those Browns home games. They've got 8 this season, and I want to watch the new offense take the field with Todd Monken coaching up Quinshon Judkins, Shedeur Sanders, hopefully, right? New draft picks, Boston, Concepcion, and I want to watch them play in person. And SeatGeek has your back to do that. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. And, of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use code CHAT10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That is 10% off any tickets with promo code CHAT10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. So there's a reason to be optimistic next year. Okay, despite all the bad wide receiver issues last year, there's 2 new guys in the building all of a sudden. Early draft picks, might I add. First one, Casey Concepcion, has been added. The Browns really loved him. Took him with the 24th pick in the 2026 NFL draft. The thing with Concepcion, though, definitely has some drop issues himself in college football last year. We've seen it a bit in the offseason to this point. Now, he's been very adamant that he's working on it. These are concentration drop issues, not his hands necessarily, but where his mind is at. And if you've ever played football, I have experience with this as well. When you're turning, thinking about your next play, getting past the defender, and you're not necessarily focused on the first step, which is make the catch. Okay, so there's concentration issues, he says. But the thing about Casey Concepcion, and what I think the Browns are trying to do by drafting him, is he's a guy that can make plays out of nothing. He's electric to watch. Just give it to him. Let him go to work. Could also be a return game threat, which, by the way, I didn't even bring that up yet in this video. What a terrible issue that was for the Browns last year, special teams. Don't get me started. And so I think the Browns, what they're trying to do with this draft pick is get a guy that can create offense as a wide receiver and get open and make big plays once you get it to him. But it was super important to double dip at the wide receiver position in the 2026 NFL Draft because of the reasons I presented in the first half of the show, those numbers, and that is why I'm more fired up about the Denzel Boston pick than anybody. You get the size. It's been a while since we've had a true 6'4" receiver in this Cleveland Browns room with great hands like Denzel Boston has, okay? So, a couple guys that have had drop issues in their career in college football and in the NFL, respectively, and Jeudy and Concepcion. And then you've got guys with great hands in this room like Denzel Boston and Isaiah Bond. I also think Boston's an underrated route runner. And when you get down in the red zone, there's 4 receiver options now our quarterback could realistically look to. And so it's not necessarily that they're star receivers in the league, but they're all talented in their own right. And that's tough for a defense to account for when you got 4 receivers that are really in this mix for Cleveland. So I am excited about the receiver room going forward, despite how bad it was last year. And I do think Isaiah Bond will take a leap. The numbers surrounding Bond last year do not tell the full story. He, in my opinion, will be a candidate to have a breakout year here in Cleveland. But it is also noteworthy that nothing's guaranteed. These guys have not taken the field yet. And I am choosing to be optimistic with the evidence that I have of Denzel Boston and Concepcion having successful college careers, having NFL analysts, ESPN draft analysts telling us you're getting a steal here. Everybody's giving the Browns an A for their draft grade. So I'm going off educated guesses that I think they will be successful in the league. But this happens all the time where guys could end up being busts in the National Football League. So it's not guaranteed. But I'm here to give an opinion. I'm here to report the facts and what I do know, and that leads me to believe this will be a more effective receiver room in 2026. And in theory, what Cleveland has done is they've built around the quarterback by going out and double dipping at wide receiver, by going out and revamping that entire offensive line through free agency and the draft. Theoretically, the Browns are in a position where the QB can finally be in a spot where they can succeed. Whether that's Shedeur, whether that's Watson, it should be better for them this year than it was in any year past, the past few years. One thing you will love, though, Browns fan, another stat from Warren Sharp. Baltimore's offense, with Todd Monken the last 2 years as their OC, has been the most explosive in the NFL. Number one in plays of 25-plus yards, 104. Second in plays of 20-plus yards at 153. The problem in Baltimore has been their defense allowing this, 85 plays of 25-plus yards, fifth most, and 137 plays of 20-plus yards, which is fourth most. Todd Monken is a guy that knows how to create offense, and the reason the Ravens have been competitive is their offense has been historically good with Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator. He knows how to generate offense, and this was the guy the Browns needed. So why we had to go with an offensive coach? Let him fix our offense, and then we can give him this D. Did I write that, Ethan? Really? Give him this defense that was top 5 in the NFL last year. It's a match made in heaven when you think about it that way. Our offense was awful, bringing a guy who was coaching one of the best offenses in the league the past 2 years. Their problem was defense. He's already being added to a defense that's great, and was last year. Some other notable things about Todd Monken, when you talk about his ability to coach an offense, he's been in so many different systems, old school football. He was pushing to sign a fullback, and that's why we've got Michael Burton on the roster, who's a vet in this league. Multiple tight ends in the room for different sets, different run schemes, by the way. He brought over his own OC from Baltimore. He has made it work with so many different styles of QB. That's what's most interesting to me, right? Stetson Bennett versus Lamar Jackson. Could you pick two more different players? Well, guess what? Unanimous MVP for Jackson, national championship and Heisman finalist for Stetson Bennett. He also really emphasized the scramble drill. That's something I really find unique about Todd Monken, is how much he talks about that, because that's what leads to explosives, is those plays that happen multiple times a game where you got to improvise, you got to create. And also the players really like him. That's why I'm optimistic now about what he could do for this offense and our receiver room. So if you had to predict in the comment section who you think the best receiver on the Browns is, let me know about it down below by typing their initials in the comment section. If you think Jerry Jeudy, type JJ. If you think Denzel Boston, type DB. If you got KC Concepcion, type KC. And finally, Isaiah Bond, get them in the comment section down below. We got more to talk about with this Browns offense, though, but I do want to let you guys see the Prize Picks lineup I have cooked up. Now that basketball is done, I'm moving on to that major soccer tournament going on, and Prize Picks is the best place to cash in while watching sports. So check out what I got. I'm going to go more on Valverde passes attempted. Then I'm also going to go more on Juan Soto for hits, because Soto's been pretty hot, okay? He's got 2 hits in his last 4 games in a row. Also, 2 home runs in back-to-back games, right, in 2 of those 4. So I'm feeling good about this one. Also going to go the less on Ozzie Fudd's points. I like Beckers to score a little bit more for that team. So that's the lineup. It's $10 lineup, payout $60. You can make one just like it if you download the Prize Picks app today and play alongside all of us here at Chat Sports. Make sure to use code HMA when you sign up, though. That gets you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Code HMA. Link is in the comment section and description of today's video. Another key thing about this Browns receiver room going forward is there's a new wide receiver coach. Okay, Christian Jones is the wide receiver coach now for the Browns. Okay, he's been promoted, and we're not running it back with Chad O'Shea. And I do like this when you mention Christian Jones. He's actually a Vikings wide receiver coach, assistant wide receiver coach during Justin Jefferson's rookie year. So I think this would be nice to have a new voice coaching the room, and it's a versatile group of receivers. There's a lot of different styles of receivers in the building, as we started to talk about earlier. And I think this all bodes well to fix the Browns' biggest issues. What about the explosive plays, though? I brought up how important I think that is, how important Monken says it is. Where did the Browns rank in explosives last year? The answer is bottom of the league. Miami had 27. They were in the bottom 4. The Browns, 26. That's tied for being towards the bottom 5 or 6 with New Orleans and Las Vegas. Then the Vikings and Jets also did not create too many. Guys, a lot of teams that weren't good on there. The Jets, the Raiders, the Browns, the Dolphins. What is this? The top 5 picks in the draft? It was not good. And explosives is more important in today's NFL than it ever was. And that's why Monken is emphasizing the scramble drill, okay? Here's what Monken had to say about that and what they're doing in practice. He says, 100% we're not going to call pass play more than scramble. It's going to come up 5 or 6 times a game. I don't care what other concepts, 4 verts, flood, quick game. With all these 2-play quarterbacks, it's going to be imperative that we are elite at scramble, and defensively we're elite at plastering. And so that whole drill is just setting up for us to work it. You can work it separate. You can get your coaches out there working on it, but it's not the same until you get a chance to compete with your guys. This could really be the difference, folks. Like you said, comes up 5 or 6 times a game. You got quarterbacks that can make plays with their legs. Both Deshaun and Shedeur can do that. They're not Lamar Jackson mobile, but they can make plays with their legs. And we saw that from Shedeur last year, getting out of sacks, running for first downs. It's a great fit now for the two of them. It's a great fit to have Monken here. The offense did not move last year, folks. Okay? Definitely not in the first half of the year. When Shedeur came in, he got a couple of those explosives to bond and a few wins with Sanders. And so when you take into account how bad everything was offensively last year, for Shedeur to do that, that's why I think he's earned the chance to start and compete, okay? For us one more time with the better system, with the new system. And if that's not good, okay, then you can blame Shedeur. But what has Watson done for this franchise? Really? You want him to go back out there? That's why I'd pick Shedeur, see what he can do, give him the shot. And then if it's not good, okay. Now we know. Without the excuses, now we know. But watch. I bet it'd be legendary. That'll do it for today's show, everybody. Hit that sub button if you're a Browns fan. I've been your host, Joey O'Donohue. I appreciate you so much for tuning into this edition of the show, and I'll see you guys next time.